All right, I welcome you all to the second day of Pink City Design Confluence, Form, Reform, Transform. The Confluence seeks to create an interface between education and industry sectors to debate on how design technology education can be leveraged to support the emerging economies of the world. This is our final session for the day of research paper panel. The day has been amazing and really insightful. So the theme for this session is Creativity 5.0. So we have presenters who will share their innovative ideas in the field of design. Each panelist will have 10 minutes to present, and at the end we will take questions. We have with us Professor Lorenzo Imbesi. He's Professor Sapienza University of Rome, Department of Planning, Design Technology, Sapienza Design Research Director, Design PhD Chair, Cumulus Executive Board, EAD Executive Committee, SID Italian Society of Design Board. Welcome you. I welcome you, sir. It's an honor to have you on board. So without further ado, let's get started. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Deepshika. For me, again, it's a great honor to be here. Thank you for the introduction. I think that we need as much as possible to leave the space and the time to our panelists. Again, the topic of this session is Creativity 5.0, which is very contemporary, very interesting. So we look forward to hearing from our panelists. We have 4 different papers. So we spanning from UK to Serbia to Brazil and then to Italy. First, we're gonna have from UK, Julie King. Thanks for joining us. Then we're going to have Biljana Jovic from Serbia. Then we're going to have Dinah Costa and Eliane Rios Antonio from Brazil. And last but not least, we have Paolo Franzo and Alessandra Vaccari from Venice, from Italy. So let's start with the very first paper. Topic of the paper is Converting Creative Content to a COVID-friendly online format. The presenter is Julie King, who is at the moment Deputy Dean of the Creative Indiaries at the University of South Wales, and which will take on the new role of Executive Dean for Digital Technologies and Arts at Staffordshire University since May 2022. So it seems it's very close. Julie King, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenzo. And thank you, Deepshika, for the introduction as well. If you could just share my presentation for me, that would be wonderful. I want to talk to you about how we coped at the University of South Wales with the pandemic. We have, as our title indicates, the Faculty of Creative Industries. We actually have a number of creative courses which had to be transferred into an online format at the outset of the pandemic. So if I could have the first slide, please. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our digitally enhanced active learning, or DEAL framework. And next slide. To introduce the university, we are the largest post-92 higher education provider in Wales, and we have around 33,000 students. We actually have over 8,500 students in the Faculty of Creative Industry alone from across the UK and from across the world. Next slide, please. Going back a couple of years, almost 2 years exactly to the date, Boris Johnson decided to make a statement about non-essential travel. And in the UK, we had a growing problem with COVID. So on the 17th of March, we closed the university. We stopped all classes. The staff came in to collect any resources that they needed, and we started to put together a process for equipment loans for students. The next slide, please. So there were priorities here about keeping learning going and making sure that we had checks and balances, that we could actually provide an education, a continuing education for the students, and ensure that no student was left behind or disadvantaged, and that everybody was confident that what we were doing was the right thing. Our strategy was to re-envision the curriculum, so we adapted all our assessment and our modular outcomes. We didn't want to compromise the course materials. We involved all of our stakeholders, and we did it very quickly. We also reimagined pedagogy. So we established some core principles about online and blended delivery, and we made sure that staff had digital skills to undertake that. All of this was done via Blackboard and Teams. And we also worked with the students as our partners, our co-creators, and our reviewers in creating content and maintaining content. Next slide, please. So we gave a brief to all of our staff about how to review the assessments on the courses. Could the existing outcomes be delivered as they were? And if not, can we find some sort of valid alternative according to industry needs and our statutory board regulations as well? And we had to make sure that the process included temporary regulations. So we did do that. We changed modules, we changed the curricula very, very quickly. And we looked very rapidly within a period of 3 weeks at how we could do this. Luckily, the creative courses across the entire faculty only needed 55 changes, which is quite minimal when you think of it, because of how we were delivering already. So the next slide, please. So between April and June, we established the principles of transformation, and we developed our framework with all our academic colleagues, our corporate departments, and we worked with the student union as well to create DEAL, as I mentioned at the beginning. So there was a consultation at this point, and when we got forward to June and July, we started building all the online resources and the training. And from August to September, we delivered DEAL training as a short course. In the interim, we had been delivering digitally, but this had been a little bit piecemeal, and so DEAL meant that we had a framework that everybody would work toward. So the next slide. There's a lot of information on the next slide, and I'm not going to go through it all, but basically what it did was it set out a social learning community for the university. And it made sure that there was inclusive and accessible and very flexible digital materials. It also supported very high quality personal interactions with all of the academic staff and all of our professional services staff. And it ensured that we had access, and the students had access to very high quality online support services. Okay, the next slide. So we monitored it right the way through. We did a number of staff and student surveys, which were very positive. Some of them did highlight IT and some access issues, but we were always supporting the students. We were always supporting the staff. As I said, we used Blackboard Collaborate and Panopto, which was another method which we had just started using in the university as well. And we also looked at what we call extenuating circumstances, so that we were able to offer students a longer period of time to complete their studies, and a no detriment policy was introduced for the exam boards, which basically looked at how the students had been achieving pre-COVID to develop their grades. The next slide. We had a massive equipment loan rollout. We had around 120 recycled MacBooks and PCs. We had sewing machines, we had cameras, we had Wi-Fi dongles. We gave all of these out to our students. We had a number of international students who weren't in country, and we did find there were some IT issues specifically in China. But we did manage to overcome these by retraining the staff and making sure that certain content wasn't included for our Chinese students, for example. We increased the student support because we found there were more mental health issues because people were isolating because there was a lockdown. And our personal academic coaching also was key to making sure that the students felt included. We also used a number of local solutions to add a more social element online and to support those different student cohorts. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the key case study here, which was in fashion. So the next slide, please. So for fashion, the challenge, as you can imagine, is moving something which is very practical to an online environment. We have a studio culture which is typically very one-to-one, it's very bespoke for those students, and there's a really supportive relationship between the staff and the student, very hands-on. There's a lot of informal support as well. And there's a need for very specific equipment to complete assignments with technical support as well. So we had a number of challenges there. And coupled with this was staff who were not familiar with the technology involved, who hadn't used it before. And there were challenges of etiquette, so digital online etiquette. Some students did say that they felt isolated, lonely, if they were just working by themselves, if they were living by themselves. It was difficult to connect. And so the solution, if we go to the next slide, was to offer an alternative assessment, as we've mentioned, but to also record all of the lectures, pre-record them so that students could go back as well. And then our technicians digitized, so they recorded all practical garment construction techniques. And there are over 120 of those very short instructional videos. So from 40 seconds up to 2 minutes. There were lots of opportunities for students to speak to staff. There were virtual office hours, open doors for the teaching staff as well. And we started a fashion cafe, which was a very safe space for students to deal with any issues that they had. And that was moderated by student support and the chaplaincy. We also extended a loan scheme equipment of around 30 domestic sewing machines, not the same as industrial. We loaned out mannequins as well, and anything that the students felt that they might need. So we kept an open loan service as much as we could within the restrictions of the lockdown. So the next slide, please. But there are always some expectations which students have, and they expected that staff were always going to be there 24/7 to fix things for them. And that, although our staff were absolutely fantastic at that, it did result in staff fatigue because they were constantly on call. The guidance that we issued as managers to them was to keep to their regular office hours unless there was an absolute emergency, and make sure that the students knew that. And then when we started coming back into the building, we found that there were very different regional differences in terms of restrictions, COVID restrictions. So in Wales, we had a 2-metre distance between people, which was 1.5 metres, and then it went down to 1 metre in England. So we had very reduced capacity in all of our rooms, and so we had to double or triple teach our practical sessions. We also had a fire break in Wales of a further 2 weeks, which England and the rest of the UK didn't have because the numbers were very bad in terms of COVID, which gave them more restrictions, and students naturally compared themselves to their friends or to their acquaintances or to people that they knew in England who weren't subject to such strict restrictions. But we did get around it, and I think in terms of fashion, they were particularly innovative in the way that they worked with the fashion cafe and all of the digitization of the processes. So the next slide, please. So what did this give us? Well, it gave us a more diverse form of pedagogy. We now have a huge bank of electronic resources, videos and technical demonstrations of processes, which the students now use.
Ma'am, I'll just interrupt. You have another minute left for the presentation.
Okay, this is my last slide.
Okay.
So all of our lectures, seminars and events, everything's recorded and put up onto Blackboard now so that students can review it at any time they want. All of our large lectures are virtually almost entirely online, and exams, where they still exist, we don't have very many, they tend to be online as well. We're much more informed and responsive as academic staff. We're much more digitally literate and articulate. We have a richer experience online, and we have embraced more diverse student learning styles. And there's a far better digital infrastructure across the university. We have more laptops, we loan more equipment, and we are reviewing our virtual learning environments. Thank you.
We will be taking questions at the end.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Deepshika. Thank you, Julie. We go to the next presentation. Next presentation is from Biljana Jovic, who is Associate Professor at the University of Belgrade in Serbia, and also founder of the creative platform workshop Geometry. She's going to speak about the miraculous power of transformation inspired by the flower of dandelion. Thank you, Biljana.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Good to see you all again here, and it's a pleasure and honor to participate. Now to share the screen, just a moment, please. Does it work well? Can you see
Yes,
the
please.
presentation?
Yes, please.
Very
Go
good.
ahead.
Thank you, Biljana.
So we are the group of the researchers from the University of Belgrade, the oldest and the biggest university, state university in Serbia. Actually, three of us girls, Dragica Bratov-Petković and Olga Gajanić, we are from the Faculty of Forestry, Department of Landscape Architecture and Horticulture. And our colleague is architect from the faculty teaching at the Faculty of Civil Engineering at the Department of Mathematics, Physics and Descriptive Geometry, Professor Alessandra Čučaković. It is my pleasure here that today the presentation of this paper will be done by my colleague Olga Gajanić. She's my ex-student, the youngest participant in this team. Yeah, and yeah, Olga, please, you can maybe, yeah. We will change a little bit our places. Hope you see Olga well, because we cannot see what is on the
Hello
screen.
to everyone. The topic of this paper is the miraculous power of transformation inspired by the flower of dandelion, Leontodon taraxacum. Today, as always throughout history, nature is an inexhaustible source of inspiration. With the progress of civilization and the development of modern technologies, the importance of bionics is growing rapidly and becomes necessary in the humanization of today's way of life. This work is inspired by the flower of the dandelion, Leontodon taraxacum, a fascinating plant of exceptional vitality and cosmopolitan distribution. The paper focuses on the analysis of the natural shape of dandelions using bionic patterns and parametric modelings. Nikola Tesla said that there is nothing that would be as worth studying as nature. Nikola Tesla was the greatest inventor of the last millennium, and his inventions are the property of all entire human civilization. After his discoveries, the world is no longer the same. Nikola Tesla is the son of the humanity, all humanity, not only Serbian and Slavic. In addition to Tesla's mechanical inventions, in the future there will be the results for the humanities such as sociology, ethics, philosophy, logic, ecology, psychology, physiology, all the way to medicine itself. Man's need and desire to follow nature through imitation of its basic forms and the constant search for harmony, beauty, and balance has always been present. Bionics is precisely that scientific discipline that can greatly contribute to the integration of man and nature. Biomimetics, bionics, or biomimicry is a relatively young but very modern scientific discipline that studies models from nature, translating them into solutions to current problems while ensuring their sustainability. The term bionics is a combination of two areas, biology and technology. Biomimicry as a scientific discipline aims to observe and imitate efficient mechanisms of the living world that it implements in various domains of design. Nature is the best teacher. The application of biomimicry leads to faster solutions and answers the great challenges of the modern age. Flowers have always been a universal symbol of beauty, love, peace, and bliss that we primarily associate with good and positive human emotions. The shape, smell, color, and texture of flowers positively affect human perception and create a sense of harmony. This is why it is not surprising that today, in a time of accelerated technological development and growing alienation from nature, people have an increasing need to integrate with nature in urban areas. Bionics, an area of connection of nature and technology with its principles, can contribute to that. The very essence of the growing presence of bionics form is that through nature as a model, it has a positive effect on modern human, primarily visually and psychologically. Dandelion, Leontodon taraxacum, is an extremely widespread and resistant plant species with extraordinary medicinal properties that we very unfairly call weeds. The first thing you notice about dandelions is certainly the yellow sun-shaped head inflorescence. The flowers are lingual, yellow to light yellow, rarely orange-red or whitish yellow, arranged in a glabrous inflorescence. The fruit is a single-seeded syncarp nut, Ahenia, with white pappus. Ahenia is light gray to dark brown or black, never brown to bright red, with many prickly nodules. The form of a geodesic dome was used as a basis for the symbolic representation of the construction of the plant form of the dandelion flower. The inspiration for creating this spatial installation is precisely the adaptability, resilience, and great vitality of this plant species. The wide distribution of dandelions directly depends on their reproductive mechanisms and plant material. The characteristics of the geodesic dome, its high resistance, durability, and the high degree of functionality, as well as the spherical shape itself, can be related to the properties and appearance of dandelion in its flowering phase, wide ball-shaped head composed of a large number of seeds with pappus. An interesting metaphysical association is that the dandelion is the only flower that in the stages of development represent three celestial bodies, the sun, the moon, and the stars. When it blooms, the yellow flower looks like the sun. When it matures, its white head rosary is associated with the moon, and the seed scattered in the wind translates to countless stars in the sky. The universal custom associated with dandelion is to pick the plant in a blooming phase, white puppy ball, make a wish, and then blow the seeds, which get scattered in the wind, allowing new plants to emerge. The process of transforming the shape of the dandelion flower is fascinating, from the phase of the yellow flower to the whitish achenes with the pappus that the wind blows. The whole secret of nature and the absolute secret of life is hidden in one dandelion flower. Just as life represents a great cycle, when something dies, something new begins to be born. The whole harmony of nature is based on constant change. procedure for making the construction of a geodesic dome and part of the hernia with purpose in Blender. Modern technologies and their constant improvement have enabled the translation of natural patterns into digital form, thus their better analysis and upgrade. The rapid development of appropriate software for 3D modeling greatly simplifies and speeds up the modeling process. Emphasis was placed on the use of Blender software, which enable parametric modeling and proved to be suitable for generating bionic patterns and modeling bionic forms. The first step in creating the structure of the geodesic dome in the Blender software is to select the geometric solid of the icosahedron and transform it into the shape of a geodesic sphere by a digital process of geodesic triangulation. After the first step, in the edit mode, we define the construction of the geodesic dome and using the bevel and extrude option. Then we gave the final definition of the construction of the geodesic dome. After that, to adjust the thickness of the papule filaments, we used some commands and set depth at the object data properties. To fully create a 3D model, the installation inspired by the dandelion flower in the overblown phase, it is necessary to add elements to the shape of the geodesic dome that represent actions with purpose.
You have 1 last minute left.
Okay, which is characteristic for these plant species. In addition to selecting the metallical white geodesic dome construction that is glazed, the focus is on the papule filaments designed as luminous elements that collect solar energy during the day and are activating during the night to emit light. The enclosed form of the geodesic dome enables the achievement of the greenhouse botanical garden effect, which would represent a mini green oasis in an urban environment. From the phase of the yellow sunflower dandelion, after closing and reopening, it becomes completely different. The yellow dandelion flower turns into a white ball. Each change leads to something new. In the case of dandelions, it establishes a live thread. Research result is a symbolic presentation of an installation that stylizes one such perfect form of existence. The whole life cycle of this plant is made possible thanks to the tiny but very powerful seed, but represent the spark and impulse of life. The essence of survival is found in the seed carried by air and comes into contact with the element of earth, activating a new life and continue the life cycle. And conclusions. Since both scientific disciplines rely to a different extent on nature, it is clear that bionics has a wide application in landscape architecture and can represent a promising direction of development for this profession. The aim of this research is a symbolic presentation of an installation that stylizes one such form of existence, seemingly simple, but in fact very powerful. In addition to the Blender software for displaying 3D models of dandelion flower, the following softwares were also used in this paper: AutoCAD, SketchUp, and Lumion. The result installation pavilion, inspired by dandelion flower, is geodesic dome with the purpose and luminous elements that collect solar energy and emit light during the night. And the enclosed form of the geodesic dome enables the achievement of the greenhouse botanical garden effect, which would represent a mini green oasis in an urban environment. And that's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Olga, so much for representing our paper. So thank you all. We should stop sharing the screen, I suppose.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing us into the world of biomimicry. From Serbia, now we're going to Brazil. We're going back to speak about online teaching with Dinah, Costa, and Eliane Rios Antonio from Brazil, from the educational designer from Alumina, is that right? St. Leo University in Brazil. Topic is the design process role on online courses, Alumina case study. Thank you, Dinah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Dinah Costa, and me and Eliane and Rios, we work for Alumina. It's an educational company that runs the entire process of doing online courses. So we are not only creating the courses itself, we also do the marketing campaigns for it, we sell it, and we offer the tutoring part also. So it's a 360 operation. And now I'm inviting Eliane to talk more about it.
Thank you for being here. I'm talking about how the Brazil absorbed all the process. We are in Brazil like a child. We don't have a strong process of distance learning education, but we started in the early years of the last century, but in different mediums such as radio, television, and internet. By the end of 2019, the world world suffered a huge impact. The first case of COVID-19 was detected in Wuhan, China. It affected different practices such as shopping, working, and studying worldwide. Nowadays, we are still learning how to do some activities and adapt to old ones. We are living, like we said in Brazil, a new normal, because we think you never live like before. So the COVID changed our habits and behaviors. When we think about education and knowledge, we think about development and innovation, and consequently, we think about technology. Technology advances happen exponentially. Educational process have also improved. Like I said before COVID, Brazil has do distance learning only for universities, no for all education. And when it happened, we have to change, like Julie said, curriculum. We have all ways to access the student in every levels. And two authors, Discerning and Lavender, said that institutional design, that the function that me and Dinah we do in Alumina, Discerning and Lavender compares a Sherpa, the guy who help us climb the mountain. So why? Because this analogy of the instructions are considered perfect, because we understand that instructional design are the one help in a decisive way to achieve the main goal with his learning. Long before COVID-19 provoked the global wave of online education, since the early 20s, the online education field has been growing, but lacking professional capable of not only adapt to the online model, but also knowing how to interpret and develop new methodologies. Hybrid teaching, mediated by technology, had been adopted, like I said before, in most Brazilian universities. In the same way that the virus boosted online education, it exposed all their weakness, such as the natural requirement of adapting the curriculum and the applicable activities methodology. And Filatro and Cavalcanti, two other actors, say that the use of immersive virtual environment using AR and VR promote interactive learning experiences. And after me, Dinah will explain more than kind of methodologies. But I get to the end of my speech, the phrase I want to say is, education can't be at a distance, but the relationship with the student must be close. So you have to stay alert and attentive of all this process to give to students a great experience.
Okay, so talking more about Alumina's methodology, we are talking about instruction designs, and we work with.
Your voice is echoing. Yeah, okay. I think now it will be fine.
So we are talking about different institutions. Like I mentioned before, we work with a 360 process. So we prepare the courses, we create the marketing campaigns, we create the sales team, we give some training for the sales team, and we also do the tutoring for these courses. So each institution is different. So we work as we are talking about the design process itself, we work with different squads. And why is that important? Because like we mentioned, each institution is different, and the entire squad knows everything about that institution. So we are talking about the aesthetics of the course. We are talking about the kind of students that we know. We are talking about the kind of course we are doing. So the idea is that we use the hero journey, right? So we think about the student as the hero of the learning process. So we give them the tools to learn more about, and also we are talking about grown-up students. So when we are talking about grown-up students, we are talking about people who need to learn. They are not like learning oriented because they like kids. They learn because they have to, they have an objective. And then we as the squad taking care of that process, we are giving the tools based on their experience. So we are always giving more than one media to teach them, like we use videos, we use ebooks, we use different medias for doing so. And then the design itself has to be oriented, time organized, because then we have the schedule for doing the course itself. We have the schedule for training the sales team. We have the schedule for the tutoring to be learning about the course itself and helping the students. Like Eliane said, it's a distance learning experience, but the relationship should be close. So we do this by the tutoring, our tutor team. And also it needs to be only not aesthetic. All the things that are in the course should be there for a reason. So we have the time for doing it so. And the design itself, the instructional design should be time-oriented, organized, and have good communication skills so that the entire operation can work nicely. And also we are, like I mentioned, we have different experience and we have different institutions. So we are talking about different courses itself, different operations, and sometimes we can help each other. So we need the idea of what's the process, what's the time what's the time schedule for doing so, and what is the team that will be working on that. So we are thinking, again, we're thinking about how the student learn, because we are talking about grown-ups, we are talking about different ideas, different experience, and how can we create this experience? How can we use this experience, the students' experience that they already have, because it's mostly post-graduation students, older students that we are working with, and how can we use their experience? How can we use hands-on activities? Because again, it's online, but you have the entire routine built, the student has the entire routine, and then it needs to be interesting. It's not the idea of just doing an online course like, oh, I have to do it. So it's not only about recording a video and put it online. It's not only about creating a book, an ebook, but also how can we make it interesting for the students? How can we use the students' experience, how they can access? I'm sorry. No. How can they access the experience, and then how can we use the previous learn that they have for learning more?
Ma'am, I'll just interrupt. You have another minute left for
Okay,
the presentation. Yeah.
So the idea of Alumina's methodology is how can we make this kind of course? How can we, again, how can we access this kind of knowledge that the student have? How can we make the topics interesting and show it in different ways? So each ways of learning are being accessed by the student. And how can we do it differently for each educational institution? So to do it, so the design process itself needs to be really understandable by the entire team. And because again, we needed to do it fast, we needed to do it, we needed to do it with different kind of institutions and different kind of students. So I think that's much it. Thank you. If you have any doubts, here are all our contacts.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll take up the questions in the last, once we're done with all the panelists.
Okay, thank you, Dinah. Thank you, Eliane. I think that we're still sharing the screen from the former presentation. Perhaps Deepshika, you can help us.
Yeah. Can you please stop sharing the screen, ma'am? Okay, perfect.
Great. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. So we're going from Brazil to Italy. Next panelists are Paolo, Franzo, and Alessandra Vaccari from University Iuav of Venice. They are research fellows at the Iuav, and Alessandra is associate professor at the same university in Venice. The topic is Italy in the age of mixed reality, an expanded experience of fashion. So Paolo and Alessandra, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for organizing this conference, and I bring you greetings from Alessandra Vaccari, that who could not be here today. This contribution aims to investigate the interaction between technology and fashion design in the mixed reality within the Italian context. We intend to consider the screen of technological devices as an element of intersection between physical and digital dimensions, overcoming the opposition between reality and the dream world of fashion. Computer and smartphone screens have gone beyond the two-dimensionality of images produced by mirrors and magazines on which the history of fashion has built the idea of modern subjectivity. In November 2019, Italian online retail company Yux Net-a-Porter Group unveiled Yux Mirror, an application supported by artificial intelligence and designed as a virtual fitting room that offers users an interactive experience in which they can virtually match and wear clothes and accessories, share them on social networks, and eventually buy them. Using virtual reality technology, selected products are digitally translated and adapted onto a 3D model, which comes to life on animated backgrounds. The complex relationship and interactions created in this environment are what this contribution defines as an expanded experience of fashion. The current relevance of mixed reality is investigated with particular attention to the design, production, distribution, and consumption of fashion in Italy at the time of COVID-19. Italy was, in fact, the first European country to launch a lockdown policy, drastically interrupting production activities, trade, and movement of people and objects. The consequence was the need to quickly identify alternative ways of relating, encouraging the launch of mixed reality experiment and accelerating projects that had already begun. Italy has thus become an extraordinary testing ground for the degree of interaction between digital innovation and deep-rooted manufacturing traditions. The research activity was developed through desk analysis and qualitative interviews, which made it possible to identify and analyze 4 case studies chosen as a recent example of mixed reality experimentation. The first case study is Ilex, a startup founded in January 2020 with the aim of designing and selling digital garments that can be worn in social networks and live experiences, thanks to the use of facial recognition and body tracking. The brand operates on 2 different fronts, both by creating wearable 3D digital objects and by providing real objects with augmented reality. Inversion is a startup that creates showroom and retail spaces in immersive virtual reality, including 3D product and contents. Digital objects react to movement and interaction with the user in a similar way as they would in the physical dimension. The third case examined is Scentsy Material Reality, a company that develops multi-sensory shared experiences of immaterial reality. The Sense Fabric mobile app allows users to simulate the physical behavior of fabrics, observe their movement by touching the device, blowing on the screen, or moving it. The last case study is represented by the designer Barbara Bologna, perhaps the less directly involved in the integration of digital technologies in the creative process, but who has been selected here for having experimented with actions in mixed reality in response to the need for social distance due to the COVID emergency. The case studies analyzed show that digitally oriented fashion projects do not aim to cannibalize physical fashion, but to offer one more channel. For the founder of Ilex, the integration of physical and digital reality increases the degree of creative freedom of fashion designers, freeing them from the constraint of material production. The scenario that many young designers envisage included the development of entirely digital collection that allow for a more intense fashion experience than the physical one. The extended reality between physical and digital also involves the way in which designers and retailers interact. One example is the Sunday Canvas project, presented in July 2020. The project consists of a platform in which digital avatars wear and present some of the brand's most iconic unisex garments. Selected retailers have the possibility to be guided in this experience by avatars, customizing the outfit and having it produce it in the chosen color fabric stitching. The retailer becomes co-designer of the collection, participating in the creative choices that will be translated from the digital dimension into the physical one. Finally, mixed reality also becomes a space for creative experimentation for consumers who can wear many more garments to satisfy their desire to look and change. In fact, digital technology allows you to be more people in a day, and through the screen, you can instantly change your look according to the situation. Canceling the established ritual of opening your wardrobe in the morning and choosing your outfit for the whole day. Digital fashion is developing in response to certain habits expressed, especially by younger consumers, on social networks. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, just to name a few, have become channels where people want to publish all the time. One consequence is the phenomenon of wardrobing, or returning an item worn just once to show it through a photo or video. Social media makes the moment immortal. A garment once worn becomes obsolete, says the founder of Ilex. We arrive at an idea of fashion intended for instant social use, a digital experience of self-fashioning that allows the individual to construct his or her identity through digital clothes and change it an instant later. Another significant example of an expanded experience of fashion in mixed reality is that proposed by Barbara Bologna. The online channel opened during the lockdown was the answer to the need for imposed social distancing, creating through the network a new tribe. In mixed reality, the subject is no longer just a spectator in front of the mirror, beyond which he or she can observe the magic of fashion, but it's transformed into an actor, a protagonist in this expanded experience made possible by the screen. This quick presentation has tried to demonstrate how fashion in the 21st century needs interpretative models that go beyond an opposing vision between material and immaterial, between physical and virtual. The case studies analyzed in the paper you can read in the proceedings allowed us to investigate the expanded experience of fashion in its performative forms, the role it plays in redefining design and its authors, new representations of Made in Italy, and the intimacy between people, object, and spaces. Thank you.
Grazie Paolo, thank you. Thank you to everyone. I guess now we have like something like 10 minutes for sharing comments and questions. So while Deepshika is grabbing all the questions and the comments, I may start, if you would like, with the first round of questions for everyone. I can see here that Julie and Dinah and Eliane pretty much brought a topic that somehow are related one each other, which is about social learning and online teaching. Question would be, how do you see the experience we're having at the moment can be also helpful for the future after COVID of teaching? Is it really, will it really impact our way of teaching, or perhaps we're gonna go back again with the old ways? And of course, I have another question for Biljana, biomimicry, and how much that can be have an impact in production and designing, or in technology. Where do you see biomimicry, which is really an interesting trend in research, really can impact the future of design? And last but not least, Paolo, I have a question about social networks. Do you see how that social network, you mentioned pretty much experiences related to fashion social networks, how much social networks will be still open in the future to have an open, wide sharing of experience, or can you see them as clusters? At the moment, Twitter and Facebook are closed for example, because of the war in Russia. So how do you see that could be a clear example of clusterizing an experience like of social network? So do you see a future in clusterizing those experiences, or do you see still an open way of sharing that kind of experience? So one question for all for the first round. I guess we can have maybe 1 minute for each. And shall we start with Julie?
Okay, thanks, Lorenzo. I said in my presentation that we have found from our experiences that we've changed the way that we teach now. So we've kept all of our lectures, we record everything that we do with students. We have kept all of the short technical videos that we made during the COVID period. And the students really enjoy having that material available to them, because it means that they can look at it over and over again instead of just being shown something once. So it reinforces their learning and enables them to develop their skills and their knowledge even further. Interesting, because we've recently had all of the restrictions, the COVID restrictions lifted in the UK, so we don't have to wear a mask, we don't have to social distance, we're going back to our normal class sizes. But some of the students have said that they miss having the online events now that they're back in the college. So I think it's a blend. We will keep some things online to enhance what we do face to face.
Thank you. Also, I guess Dinah and Eliane may have something to add.
Yes, actually, different from what Julie King presented, our company already work with online courses. We do not run an operation of more time break courses, let's say like that. But the idea is that for us, it's not only about, again, Eliane, Ms. Antonio said that it's not only about a distance relationship. We have the team working to be a close relationship. And for us, the idea is that Brazil, it's a huge country, and we have the idea of different universities and educational institutions with different backgrounds, with different courses. And we run an operation that offers the online course for the entire Brazil. So the idea is that we can have a good course and a good online course from a brick and mortar institution, and then someone in the north of the country can take it. Right now, we are working with an operation that it's really interesting. So the idea is that we are this kind of company. We bring different courses to different people. Right now, we are working with a university from Florida, Staffordshire University, and we are offering online courses from Florida to Brazilian students. So we don't have the language barrier. They can have an American diploma degree, having online courses. So for us, the idea was always being different, like offering online courses, but with this close relationship, this close thing. It's not adaptation. We are thinking about how to create better courses. So it's kind of different from what happened with Julia King about adapting and stuff like that. So I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you. This is very interesting. Sorry for, just to add in as a very small question. How do you see that teaching in design may be different from, online teaching or any other discipline like mathematics, for example?
Well, the idea that of... Oh,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Julia. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, we also have business courses in our faculty, and we do offer those business courses, which are very theory driven. They are offered online only to some international students, and that's far easier. When you're in a very creative subject such as fashion, interior or TV and set design, where you need to go and you need to make something, or even our drama and our music courses encountered, physical difficulties in not being able to work with people together. I think it's easier to do the theory only, but it's definitely still possible to do the very practical design and creative courses. You just need to make sure the students have the resources such as instruments, a sewing machine, access to equipment that they might need.
Okay, Dinah, maybe you want to add something?
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we go to Biljana. We're speaking about biomimicry. How do you see that the research in biomimicry can impact the process of design and even the teaching in design? So making a sort of connection also with the former what Julie and Dinah was saying before.
Thank you, Lorenzo, for your question. I would recall to our paper a few months ago, I think recently published in Brazil. Yeah, that's a interesting connection that we have colleagues here from Brazil in a leading journal for graphical sciences. And the paper is titled Biodesign in Architecture, Landscape Architecture and Fashion. So we presented there actually the methodology. Here briefly, I can also recall to, I have Lorenzo, the similar role like you have here on Asian Forum of Graphical Sciences in December 2021, and where I explain in detail how the connection works. The main idea is to work close with inspiration, inspiration from nature. So actually, students like Olga, when she was my master student under my mentoring, the similar workshop I done also at the organizers college, Arch College of the Design and Business with smart and skillful Indian students. Actually, yeah, we go to the green areas, find inspiration connected with the technological. In this sense, yeah, we are here focusing on Blender, on open sources, which is available to all of us, yeah, totally free platform. After that, parametric modeling is process. Geometrical models like a hard science is at the back, like the Delaunay triangulation and Voronoi diagram we use to get the final models actually applicated for us, focus in landscape architectural elements on the green areas, but it could be used everywhere, you know, definitely nature, we should go back more closely to the nature, and we can learn a lot. On my experience, it's so beautifully in India, one of the best thing that I experienced there, that there is no discrimination between humans and animals. That is really amazing experience. And I think also we should appreciate and value more and get closer to the plants that we have so close. We have so much to learn from the nature, but using the technology is really helpful, and at the end we have art and science result, and we can call it like biodesign result. So that would be the answer shortly. Sorry if I talk too much and talkative person, sorry. Okay.
Thank you, Biljana. Thank you very much. Now we go to Paolo from Venice. Can you tell us something about this relationship between social networks and fashion, which I guess it's also pretty much connected to your study? Do you see the future as sort of clusters of networking, or there's still you know, some possibility to have an horizontal open sharing of experiences, in particular of fashion?
Yeah, your reflection is very important because sometimes people think or say that technology and social media could democratize fashion, but it's very important to remember that it's not true, because all this word is an expression of a part of the world, is not so democratized. And so in order to have an open and participatory fashion design, we have to work in other directions, probably. But with our contribute, we only want to focus on Italy context, and to try to move from the narrative of made in Italy and Italy as a place of craftsmanship, of tradition linked to the past, and to understand how also in Italy, through technology, through social media, we can move to the future, and we can innovate fashion, yeah, all the fashion system.
Okay, thank you, Paolo. Thank you to everyone. I think that this session was pretty much interesting for the innovation part. Each paper was really looking into the innovation, into the future of teaching, designing, being creative. And so that was very interesting. Thank you. I don't know if Deepshika also collected additional questions, because we over a couple of minutes, so but perhaps we still have a few seconds if you want to add anything or...
No, sir. Nothing as of
Okay.
now. I would just like to add that this was really a knowledge-filled session. What Paolo, I'm sorry with the pronunciation, about the digital fashion, it was really impressive. I'm sure in years to
Thank
come,
you.
this is going to be a common thing. Right now, it's quite novel.
Okay, thank you. So if you don't have anything to add, I would like to thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot. And good luck with your research, of course. And we look forward to meeting again with the next sessions online with Design Culture Pink City Design Conference 2022. Thank you, Deepshika, to helping us.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye to everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye.
Ciao.
Lorenzo, may we stay a few minutes or more, just
Okay.
to us?
Yes, please.
If the recording is still going on. Maybe.
think, I don't know. Yes, it's going on. It's still
Never
going
mind.
on. Yes.
It's nothing that we, but hopefully it's not live in Facebook. I think it's not. I just want to tell you,